These are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Tanmoy Ray. I'm the counseling head at MeetUniversity.com. And today we're going to present the topic Career in Biomedical Sciences. So this is our fifth seminar in the series. So let's give you a brief introduction about myself. I did my master's in pharmacology from the UK, from the Aston University. After that, I worked in the cardiovascular medicine department at the University of Oxford, and then I was over there. I was working in the heart failure division. After that, I went to Netherlands where I worked on the biomarkers topic. So I was working on biobanking at the Utrecht University. So that's a little bit about my background. I also worked in Australia as well, at the University of New South Wales. Now let's get started with the topic, which is biomedical sciences and careers and jobs. I guess you will enjoy. So, what are the biomedical sciences? So, just give me a brief introduction. So, it's not only one subject; it's a very huge domain, and it's a very interrelated all the core areas. Like so, some of the popular areas and subjects are like human biology, pathology, genetics, biochemistry, epidemiology, clinical chemistry. Then you have got microbiology, molecular cell biology, biophysics, immunology, pharmacology, and bioinformatics. So these are all the parts and parcels of biomedical sciences. So it's biomedical when we are dealing with like biomedical sciences, it's not only one topic. Okay, so it's basically an interrelated area. So it's not there is chemistry involved, there's biology is involved, the medicine is involved. So it's the intermix of all the subjects. When you are want to be a biomedical scientist, you can be anything. You could be a biologist, you could be a pathologist, you could be a geneticist, you could be a clinical chemist, you could be a microbiologist or an immunologist. So it depends on which area you want to specialize in, which is your interest and what you want to be in further in future. So what are the common jobs and roles? So when we say, okay, I'm a biomedical scientist, so what do I do? What are the job roles? What are the tasks? Or what do you do? So basically, biomedical scientist, as a biomedical scientist, you work in a lab, ideally in a laboratory setup, but not necessarily is always the case. You can work in office as well or something on the computer. But ideally, a biomedical scientist, you will work in the laboratory. So weight lab techniques. So for example, like testing and screening of lifestyle diseases like diabetes or cancer or cardiovascular disease, or maybe infections ones like rubella or very recently Ebola. Ebola was such a huge outbreak last year. So what is the screening? So basically, as a biomedical scientist, you screen like either the patient or a human being has she or he got a disease or not. So this screening and testing, these are done by the biomedical scientist. Then biomedical scientists are the ones who find the new and effective ways to detect diseases. So is there a disease or not? So you are screening, you are testing, but you need to find a way how to detect it. Suppose if someone has got a diabetes or not, you detect it by testing the glucose levels. Okay, so if the sugar is really high, then of course it's a high chance that the person is diabetic. So you need to find new ways. For example, jaundice is the it we measure it if someone has got bilirubin, high levels of bilirubin or not. So for new diseases, you need to discover new techniques. You need to find out innovative ways how to detect a disease easily, with easy and fast and innovative, cost-effective approach. Other jobs like other roles, investigating the disease mechanisms, profile progression. For example, when I was at Oxford, I used to work on heart failure. So how the heart failure is getting caused, like what are the disease progression, how the disease is getting spread. So this I used to work. Then at the last but not the least, the discovery and development of treatment. So you need to find out treatments. How could you treat a person with the diabetes or cancer or maybe heart disease or maybe something else like Parkinson disease or Alzheimer. It could be two types. It could be therapeutics, so basically drugs and medicines, or it could be preventive, like vaccines. So these are the like ideal things you do as a biomedical scientist. Now these are some of the cartoons like you can work in the lab, but how do they look like in the real picture? So that I will show in the next one. Here you can see like you work with very minute quantities, so it's not like very heavy work. These are all very like delicate work, so you have to be very skillful with these kind of techniques. Like when you are dealing with pipettes, sorry about that, when you are dealing with pipettes, microscope or maybe high-tech machines, sensitive machines, you work with cell models in a hood you work with the mouse models or maybe some other models. It could be mice, it could be rats. You don't necessarily work on the human body, but you do work with the human organs, maybe heart, or maybe here you can see there's a brain. Someone is working on the brain. You will be dealing with blood samples, you could be dealing with urine samples, you could be dealing with bacteria in a petri dish. You'd be working like the microscope that could be fit with a computer, high-tech computers. What you are seeing in under the microscope, that you can analyze in a computer. And also, it's not all everything in the lab. You will be discussing with the other board members or maybe lab members. You could be discussing with your professors or peers. So you could be based in the office as well. So that's how it looks as a biomedical scientist. Now, this is the topic biobank research. I have chosen this topic because it's very relevant to Indian students and Indian biomedical scientists. Because India has got a huge population, and I think India is a very ideal destination for biobank research. So, what's actually biobank research is like? Patient is asked to provide his tissue or it could be samples like his blood sample or serum sample. Then people like doctors or maybe some pathologists will be collecting those samples. Then the tissue will be frozen, the blood will be processed or something. They will be kept in like some liquid nitrogen to make it to keep it cold, and they will be distributed to other researchers for further research. Now, why India is a ideal market for ideal place for this kind of research? Because India has got a huge population. So if someone is interested in biobank research, like I have to work on human samples, like because I used to work on human samples back in Netherlands. Like when someone has got a stroke or a heart attack, so what happens? Like someone is getting a blockade in his artery or vein. So what the doctors or pathology used to do, they used to remove the artery, the arterial blockade, and I used to collect those blockade samples like the plaques, atherosclerotic plaques, and I used to work on those samples to identify the proteins, protein analysis, and other stuff. I used to work on those. So this is a really interesting field. You can also search like translational research or biobank research. If you find it interesting, I think it would be a very good because it's very prospective, and not only India. If you go to any country in Europe or maybe US or Australia, this field of research is really hot nowadays. Now, I think you might have heard that a lot of people ask me because, okay, I want to be a biomedical scientist, but I want to be a biomedical engineer as well. So, a lot of people are a bit confused, like what's the difference between a biomedical scientist and a biomedical engineer? So, what I have said so far is mainly about biomedical science and what the roles and opportunities for the biomedical scientist. But I will also give you a short introduction, a short description of biomedical engineering or what are the roles of biomedical engineers. So if you remember that the biomedical scientists do work with high-tech equipments, it could be related to a computer, it could be to some inside machines. So for this biomedical engineering. Now, biomedical engineering is it also consists physics, chemistry, maths, biology. These are the like interrelated ones which are overlapped with the biomedical science. But what are the extra ones are the computer science, signal processing, high-tech applications, and engineering. So basically, the biomedical scientist he or she will be working on the chemical or biochemical or the medical aspects, while the biomedical engineer he or she will be working on the engineering on the technical aspects. Suppose if you are measuring the say some sample, say you are measuring the glucose in a blood sample, so you'll be measuring the sample in a device or in a machine. So that machine has to be built by an engineer, or that machine has to be like functionalized by an engineer. So that's one role. Biomedical engineer also that they build the device like artificial valve, artificial heart, or maybe like you check like the fast machine, which is the machine for checking if someone has got diabetes or not. So these are the things. Then like the MRI machine and maybe the prosthetics like artificial limbs and prosthetics and maybe the other high-tech equipment. So these are the roles of for a biomedical engineer. Biomedical engineering, the prospect in India is good. I mean, but obviously, I would say if you compare to biomedical science, the prospect is a bit little less when it comes to research and development. If you want to go into manufacturing sector or some other division, is fine. But if when it comes to the research and development, R&D is part of the biomedical engineering. I would say abroad is a better option than in India because in India, not many companies are building this manufacturing these machines, or not many people, not many companies are putting that much investment. But yeah, in biomedical science, India is really doing good when it comes to there are a lot of companies and a lot of research institutes and universities, and even the government, the Indian government is spending a lot on the biomedical research, like the DVIBT fund or some other fund, their fellowships, they're really good. If you go for a PhD or go for a postdoc in India, I mean there are a lot of funds, a lot of options are coming. So this I so far I discussed like what is it like to be a biomedical engineer or like to be a biomedical scientist. Now what do we need to do to become to be one of those? So this is something I'll come back maybe later. I'll skip this one for now. So yeah, what you need to do, the required qualifications. Well, at class 12 level, like plus 2 or HSC level, you need to study definitely physics, chemistry, biology, and you could include mathematics or statistics or computer science, because if you wish to go into biomedical engineering, then do need to include mathematics or maybe computer science. But physics, chemistry, biology, these three will be common for any stream. You want to go for biomedical science or biomedical engineering, you need to study these three subjects at the plus 12 level. In bachelor's you have got a lot of options. You could study overall like BSc in biomedical science, you could study BSc life science, or you could study even BSc or BTech in biotechnology. You can even study pharmacy. You could study B Pharm, Bachelor of Pharmacy, and then you can move on to biomedical science, the same thing. But what's more important, you need to understand that biomedical science, as you see, that it's really complex, because as biomedical scientist or as biomedical engineer, you will be dealing with the most important or the most complex machine in the universe. That's the human body. So you need to be very good. You need to be really good expert in your field, and that's why the for the higher studies is really important. So it's not like some other fields where you just did your BTech and okay, I got a job and that's fine. But for biomedical science, it's really delicate. You need to be really good and you need to study and research a lot. So a master's is really required, because you need to do a master's. It doesn't matter if you where you are doing it from, but you have to do it from a good place. I did my master's from the UK. I did my bachelor's in pharmacy from India. After that, I did my master's from the UK. But I would say like it doesn't have to go to UK, but there are other countries as well. But I would say that for this field, particularly this field, biomedical science, going abroad at least for the master's level or for the PhD level, it would be very beneficial, because what's happening nowadays in India, like a lot of Indian companies, even like Biocon or Advinus, or even the Indian research institute like ICER or maybe NICER or maybe IICB or maybe CCMB Hyderabad or NCBS and then IISC, they are recruiting a lot of people who have studied in abroad or who have done their PhD or postdocs from abroad. It's not like that they are not hiring people who studied and worked in India. But since in this field, the other foreign countries are so advanced, the Indian companies and the Indian research institutes, they are hiring people who got the education, got a little bit of training from abroad, who are a bit exposed to the abroad culture. People are companies are hiring those people, so it's beneficial and it's advantageous. And you will learn more. You will be because you have a lot of room. The lot of the infrastructure is good. The funding is good in those countries, so it's quite better. So masters is really important, and I would say even PhD, because if you really want to go into the research field, PhD will be very much required if you want to go into like senior scientist or in the academia. If like in industry, you'll be a senior scientist. Or if you want to go to the into the academia, you need to be an assistant professor or maybe a professor. Then PhD is really required. So that's all about required qualifications. And now I just give you a brief overview, like what are the countries that are good for biomedical sciences. So as you can see, all these countries are quite good for the biomedical science, I mean education and research. Australia, Belgium, Canada, Denmark, Estonia, Finland, France, Germany, Ireland, Italy, Korea, Holland, New Zealand, Norway, Poland, Spain, Sweden, Switzerland, UK, US. I mean, there might be a few other countries as well, but this one I would say these are the top countries for this field of research. So I might have missed out a few countries, maybe Japan as well, because Japan is also doing a quite a good research in biomedical research. China is also doing well, but these countries I would say they are the top ones. And if you want to study a master's in those countries, so this is the a bit overview about average cost. So Yeah, US and Australia, they are the most expensive ones when it comes to studying biomedical science or related programs at master's level. So this is not something per year tuition fees, or this is the basically whole program fees. Okay, so it's the combination of first year or second year, or maybe the whole program fees. So as you can see, Australia and US, they are the most expensive, but they are excluding the scholarships. If you have got good profile, if you have got good marks in your bachelor's, if you have got good profile, you can get scholarships and they will come down. So this fee structure is without any scholarships. If you get good marks, if you could give good exams, like if you have got good score in GRE or maybe IELTS or TOEFL, and you have got good research proposal, or you have got good recommendation, have you got good experience, research experience during your bachelor's or maybe some internship, you have very, you're, it's very likely that you might get, you'll get a scholarship. And then I would say these are very medium range countries like UK, then Sweden, Holland, this New Zealand. These are quite good countries because the tuition fee is not too low but not too high as well. So these are quite good countries, and UK is one of the best countries for biomedical science. I would definitely say that. I mean, US, Germany, UK, Australia. These are, I would say, they come into the top bracket, and same as maybe Finland. Then some other countries I would like to mention, for example, Finland. Now you can see Finland is written as zero. Now don't be surprised with that, because in Finland is one country, and another one I would say is the Norway. This one is Norway. So these two countries you can see zero. So how it is written as zero. So basically, if you are studying in Norway or Finland, any subject, not only biomedical science, if you are studying any subject as an international student, you don't need to pay any tuition fees. So that's the best thing about these two countries. And same with Germany as well. Like here is Germany, the green one, and you can see some figure about that, but that's really low because there's, I think, 40% universities which don't charge any tuition fees to international students. So if you are lucky enough, and if you get into a German university or in Norway or in Finland, you don't need to pay any tuition fees, because those countries don't charge any money from the international students, because the governments, their governments basically, they pay for the intern students and they are subsidized. So if you get into those countries, it's really good, because, and it's not only free, it's the education standard is also good. I mean, Germany, I think you might have known, I mean, when it comes to science and engineering, Germany is one of the best. I mean, they are kind of the world leaders. I mean, they are as on par with US and UK. So these are really good countries. Other countries like Ireland and Switzerland, these are also doing really good. So all these countries are really good. You just need to look about what is your budget, what is your profile, because as you can see, Germany, Norway, and Finland, they don't charge any tuition fees, but they have also got very high entry requirements, because if you need to study at those places, you have to be really good. You might need to be within the top 5% in your class. So then you can study in those universities in those countries. In UK, it's really high, but not as high as Germany, because there are a lot of ranges. Because, for example, in UK there is University of Oxford, there is also University of Manchester, there is also University of say Wolverhampton. So you need to check the entry requirements for each and every university. So that's something we might help you out later with counseling or something. So what's important, look into your profile, like what you, where, how much is your budget and what is your profile. If you have got 60% and but you have got not if your budget is not high, then you need to look some other alternatives. If you have got a very good budget but very low marks, then you have to sort out, okay, which are the universities that I can apply for. So it's basically, you need to figure out which country is best, and then you have to figure out which university is best. So these are some of the topics I have already covered in some other webinars. We study abroad, you might watch them later. So now moving forward. Okay, now the industry employment for the biomedical scientists. Most of them are in the 44%, as you can see. Then the scientific and research and development. So it could be in the industry, it could be in the academia. Then colleges, university, and professional schools. You could be as a faculty. Then the pharmaceutical and the medicine manufacturing. Just to mention that it's not only pharmaceutical, I would say it's pharmaceutical and biotech. So pharma biotech sector, that's a very big sector for biomedical scientists. Then general medical and surgical hospitals, very few, and drug merchant wholesalers. I mean, these are not very popular, but still you have some chance to get into those sectors. But the top three, those three are the main sectors of employment for the biomedical scientists. And these are some of the for biomedical engineering. So if you're studying biomedical engineering, you have a bit more opportunities because since you have got an engineering degree, biomedical engineer, you have studied more physics than a biomedical scientist. You have studied electronics and electrical during your biomedical engineering. So you have some other options. But for research in the healthcare and the medical, biomedical science will be more beneficial. So it depends on you if you want to go into biomedical research or you want to go into the engineering aspect. So it depends which what interests you. Then according to that you can choose your stream. Okay, shall I go for biomedical science or shall I go for biomedical engineering? Now let's have a look about a bit earnings. So as you can see, if you're a graduate, suppose if you have done your bachelor's or master's, you can earn something between 24,000 to 30,000 euro per year. Or if that's in the Europe, if you're in the US, that would be something around 40,000 to 50,000 US dollars per year. Now after that's at the level of bachelor's and master's. Once now if you get into a PhD program, now PhD, it's not like that you have to pay any tuition fees. I mean, there are most of the, I mean, you should go for fully funded PhDs where you don't need to pay any tuition fees. On the top of that, you'll be getting a monthly stipend so to support yourself. So that's your earnings. So in the UK, it depends which program you're going for and which university you are doing your PhD from. So in the UK, it could be something between 1100 to 1800 pounds per month. That's per month. In Europe, it could be between 1400 to 2400 euros per month. And if you are doing your PhD in the US or Australia or New Zealand or could be Singapore as well, it would be something between 2000 to $2600 per month. After you have finished your PhD, you can work as a postdoc. As a postdoc, you can earn equivalent to 40,000 to 50,000 euros annually. Then it takes usually 5 to 10 years to get promoted to the level of assistant or associate professor. And at the top end will be, of course, you can become a professor. And once you become a professor, I mean, you can earn more than 80,000 euros per year. So in this field, I mean, the salary is really good because it's a very demanding field. So it's challenging. It's not easy. It's really challenging, but it's rewarding as well. I mean, in this field, you can really go up depending on which sector you're working. If you are working in the academia, maybe your salary or your earnings might be a little less than the industry, but in the academia there are other parts that you'll get more holidays, you'll get more flexibility. In the industry you might be earning 10 or 20% more, but it will be not that many holidays, so it'll be only 20 holidays a year. But in the academia you might get 35 or 40 holidays a year. So there are other benefits in the academia. So you have to balance your life, like, okay, what excites you? Is it a bit 10-20% more salary or maybe more holidays a year or more flexibility in your work schedule? Now, just some of the relevant blocks, because I have given you a brief description, it's a brief overview because a lot of people are confused about biomedical science, like what is actually it is biomedical science or biomedical engineering. So I have given you a brief overview and also certain career opportunities in abroad. If you need to know further, I mean, you can get all the information on these blogs. I mean, you can just Google these topics, biomedical science jobs and careers, or with my name, I put these blogs. You can have further information. And if you, because I'll be putting these slides on SlideShare and some other medium, so you can download this PowerPoint presentation and you can also view this video later on. So with the recording, so you can note down these blogs. As I said, how to choose the university or how to choose the country. I mean, these blogs will help you. The study abroad mate is the part one, part two, part three. Like, okay, how much is your budget and which are the universities? How much is your score? How much is your marks? And which university is best fit for you? If you read those blogs, study abroad mate is the part one, part two, part three. They'll be very helpful. And regarding the main topic, biomedical science jobs and careers, I think the first two blogs will be very helpful. The first one is a really good one, the biomedical science jobs and careers that I wrote for the MBA Crystal Ball, and it's really getting really good because a lot of people, I think I so far I got around 70 or 72 comments in that blog. So a lot of people are asking, okay, what shall I do? what's the best thing to do. So I think you will find that blog really useful. So now I'll come back to that slide because that was my mistake. I should have put that at the end. Now just try to look at the bigger picture, what is biomedical research. Okay, so as you can see that you will be dealing with the human samples, you will be working on the human disease, you will be working towards the treatment on the, you will be discovering medicine. Now you have to think about the whole picture. Now you are not working alone. So because as a biomedical scientist, you might be a biologist, you might be a mathematician, you might be a chemist, you might be a computer scientist. Because if you're from bioinformatics background, or maybe from computational biology, that's also a good field. So these are all parts of the biomedical science. You could be a physicist, a biophysicist, or an engineer, biomedical engineer. So you all work together, you make a model, then you get your hypothesis generated, then you generate your experimental data, then you evaluate and test it. So that's how it works. So it's not you're working alone. So it's basically the whole field just at the top. So you could be a biologist, you could be a pathologist, geneticist, or maybe like I was a pharmacologist. So it's the whole thing is the about biomedical science. So, and if you have got any queries for now, I mean, yeah, I'm happy to take any questions. Any questions? If you have got any questions, you can just type into the chat box, and I'll be happy to answer you. Hi Arun, have you got any questions? Okay, now I can see one of the questions. Okay, so yeah, it's from Arun. I have got 8.31 out of 10 in my undergraduate program. Am I eligible for a stipend? Okay, stipend. No, stipend is for the PhD level. Okay, so stipend you cannot get stipend for masters because you did your undergraduate. So what you could get, you can get scholarship at the master's level. Okay, so you can get scholarship at the master's level, and the stipend is only for doctorates who have already completed their masters and now they want to go for the doctorate level like PhD. Then they will be giving getting stipend. Okay, you have got 6.5 in IELTS, so that's a good score because that's most of the universities need. Now it depends on, as I said, it if you have got a good marks, I mean 8.31 out of 10, that's a good score, and you have got 6.5 in IELTS, so that's also a overall very good profile. Now it depends on which countries you want to go for. If you can go either to UK, you could go for Germany as well. You could be very good because. If you want to go for molecular biology, I would say UK is very good. Germany is also good, but it depends like on the competition and when you're applying because if you want to go for the next intake, I think it is a little bit, it might be a little bit what do you say, like tight for Germany, because normally the application get closed 6 months before the intakes. But you might check with a few of the universities. But for UK, I think with these marks you can apply to the University of Nottingham or University of Manchester. Then you can apply to University of Sunderland is good, and then some other things, maybe University of East Anglia. Then uh, some, I'm just remembering what are the other good options for you. Aston University is good. Aston is in the West Midlands. Then you can also choose, say, Cardiff University, that's in Wales, and Glasgow Caledonian University, that would be a good one. And it also depends which field you want to go for. So could you please say which field you want to go for? You want to go for molecular biology, right? If you want to go for molecular biology, I would say University of Nottingham or Warwick. This would be a very good one. And for scholarships, you need to check what the deadlines are. Well, yeah, the annual fee, it will be something in the range of 12,000 to 17,000 pounds, and so basically 12 lakhs. Well, it's now not 100 exactly, so I think it will be something between 11 lakhs to 16 lakhs, and that's not the annual fee, that's the whole fee, because the masters in the UK, that's a 1 year program. But don't get deceived that, oh, it's a 1 year program, why is it 1 year? So what happens, like in other countries, mostly the master's programs are 2 years, because they are 34 weeks. In 1 year you will study only 34 weeks. But the UK is more intensive, it's more intense. You will be studying 42 to 45 weeks in the UK. But and it's really good because it gives a pushover, because the studies system is a bit quite intense, and it's good one, because you'll be finishing your masters in 1 year. So at the end of the day it will be cost effective, because when you are studying for 2 years, so you will be spending money on living expenses for 2 years, while in the UK you'll be doing your masters in 1 year. So at the end of the day you'll be saving money, so it is cost effective, it's good for the pocket. Well, in the UK, it's really good. The best sector for employment in the UK is the academic sector, because I worked in the academic. So I finished my master's in October. Then I started working for the University of Oxford from January. So I got the job in December. Then I started in January. So for biomedical science in UK, it's really good. Like, and especially in the academic sector, even for the companies, there is GSK, GlaxoSmithKline. That's a British company. Then Bank Research. That's not exactly biomedical company. That's bio. That's, I would say, pharmaceutical plus healthcare company. But that's a British. That's a really good one. Apart from that, there is Sanofi. Even this has got some plans. Then, but that's not British. Another British company. I'm just trying to remember. Yeah, AstraZeneca. That's a half British, half Swedish company. This is also good. And the main thing is like, it really gives you a very good push, because once you, when you are doing your MSc project in the UK, it's really helpful, because you'll be doing a research on your project, which just develops your intellectual capability. So you can go into any sector, you can go into the academia, or you could also go into the industry. Oh, you're welcome, Arun. I hope you find this session very useful. So, from the other attendants, if there is any other questions, I mean, you can type in your questions. All right then. So I guess that's the end of this webinar, and I'll be back for our next webinar, which will be study in Europe. That will be next week. And till then, it's just goodbye and thank you. And yeah, so I would say thank you and good luck with your studies. Just be calm and study biomedical science and be a biomedical scientist. All right. Thanks. Bye.